Alright, so we continue with question number 3 in the GC 2025 paper 2 biology. Question 3 was saying figure 3 represents 3 different models of gaseous exchange in different animals. That's what it tells us. So you can see the models there, model 1, model 2, model 3 there. So these are the models we are given. Then it says which model represents gaseous exchange in human beings. So now when you look at this one, you have got blood capillaries, and gas enters and actually leaves through exchange in the blood capillaries. So therefore we can simply or rightly say that model 1 actually represents gaseous exchange in human beings. Then what about in insects? Well, in insects, if I look at between the two, we can go for model 3. So model 3 actually represents what takes place in what we are calling as being an insect. Now if you notice there, what is the reason as to why we are saying so? So the B part there comes in and it says that give reasons for your answer in A by referring only to the models in figure 3. So they just want you only to refer to the models that they have actually shown you. So why am I saying that model 1 is actually representing, human beings? Well, this is because if you notice, the model actually shows air entering and leaving through a branching system, like a branching system, if you're able to see there. So it resembles the lungs and the bronchi here. So I can say this is because it shows air entering and leaving, so entering and leaving through a branched, or we can say through a branching system, resembling the lungs and bronchi. So that's the idea that you need to remember. So when you look at what is happening there for human beings, you can see as the arrow comes, they actually branch. So those may actually indicate the bronchi. Yeah, so that is why we are saying that model 1 is actually representing human beings. But what about, why am I saying that model 3 actually represents that of an insect? Why can I say that? Well, it is very simple. When you look at this system, it's like when air enters, it diffuses directly into the tissue cells, and that's the reason why I'm actually saying that. So we can simply say that in this case, air diffuses. I can say because air diffuses or directly into the tissue cells, from the spiracles. So it could be the spiracles, but it actually diffuses directly into the tissue cells from the spiracles, and that is why we are simply saying that is simply a model for an insect. Now if you notice again, C1 says that which model in figure 3 uses water as a medium of transport for oxygen to the respiratory system. So which model there in this case? Normally the model there that can actually use water as a medium, it is simply model 2 there. Then it says name one living organism that uses the model identified in C1. So this model, we are saying it only uses in water. In most cases, we know that fish actually does that in water. E.g., you can talk about things like the common one, tilapia. Yeah, so fish is actually the common one that you can talk about. Then the last but not the least there, it says suggest structures that aid movement of air into and out of model 1. So what helps in the movement of air into, in other words, when it comes to human beings, what helps, to aid in the movement of air in and out of the lungs. So in most cases, when we talk about the structures, normally the diaphragm, so the diaphragm, whether it actually moves up or down, it is going to aid in the movement of air into or out of the lungs. Then the other thing that we can maybe talk about is simply the intercostal muscles. So be it the inner or outer intercostal muscles, but these are drastically going to help in the movement of air in and out of the lungs, or the structure that has actually been shown. Yeah, so remember that these structures help actually to ventilate the lungs by changing what we are calling as being the thoracic volume. So it's the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. Please watch out for another question as I look at question number 4, but we can just conclude with the other one. So it was saying in case of model 3. So what about in the case of model 3? Remember what we talked about in this case when we talk about model 3. In this case, we are talking about the insect, what helps them. So one, we can simply talk about the spiracles. Yeah, so they can actually help them to do that, and also what we call as being the trachea. So they can actually just help them. So the spiracles and the trachea, and sometimes because of the strenuous activities that it is going to be doing, it is going to, as it breathes in and out, so spiracles open and close to actually regulate airflow. Then the trachea deliver air directly to the tissue. So that is why you could have actually talked about just the two, spiracles and trachea. So remember, the spiracles in this case open and close to regulate the airflow. Then the trachea deliver air directly to the tissues. Thank you so much. Watch out for question number 4 in my next video.